Welcome to Reef Beef. My name is Rich.
My name is Ben.
And today on Reef Beef, we have a fabulous guest, Michelle Albright, who's an artist and a reefer. And she's pretty great. So we're going to talk to her about her art and what she did at Aquashella. And we're also going to catch up with Rich and Ben about what's going on in the home lab and what's going on the maintenance front. Tonight, this show, well, it might be daytime wherever you are, who cares, is brought to you by PolypLab. Powered by PolypLab is this episode of Reef Beef. Take it away, music. We got an award, Ben.
Oh, we did?
Reef Beef got an award. reeftanking.com/foul language podcast.
Yes.
The Foul Language Reef Podcast Award. It is my great honor to announce that Reef Beef Podcast has won this year's Foul Language Product Award. Sorry, Reef Therapy. Photo by Kyle Mackey. Upsplash Beef Beef Beef. Written by Brooks.
We're the most foul-mouthed reef podcast on the fucking planet.
So fucking proud of you. It shows a picture. And then fantastic.
Richard, what's going on with your tanks? Because there's always something going on with your tanks.
What's going on today with my tanks? I did a bunch of cleaning today.
Oh, you did that because Craig showed that.
Yeah. So I've had this for like a year.
Really?
You know, whenever online someone says, "Here's this thing," I go, "Well, I'm gonna try it." You know, so when the vinegar thing came out, you know, when they were saying this is better than vinegar because it makes plastics, you know, my first reaction is, really? Show me. Come on, show me. But I always pick it up to see whether what it does or what it doesn't. So I had it, and the piece that Craig gave me was that I really liked was just add it till saturation. Just you can't put too much in, and so that was great. I did all 8 of the wave pumps today.
Oh.
All I did was drop them in, leave them running at 20%, and they were in for like 5 minutes, and that was it. So that was
seriously, and knocked everything off of them.
It sure looks like it did.
That's cool.
Yeah, it all changed color, so it looks a little bit different. So that's what I was doing. And the other thing that I was doing is I got this thing. Have you heard about this thing? You probably haven't heard about this thing. I should tell you what it is. It's that. It's the
SPS kit. VCA. Oh, I know VCA is that company that 3D prints things.
Yeah, great guy. I talked to them a few times. This is the thing they've made for the salinity probe.
Yeah.
So you put your salinity probe in here, and then you connect this to a pump, and it constantly pushes water through it. So it should keep animals out of the salinity probe, which is the problem I run into. It gets covered in microbial stars, and it should also keep any micro bubbles out of it, which seem to be one of the problems of keeping a stable salinity reading on some of the salinity probes.
I have to admit, I know there's lots of forums where they talk about this stuff, but I have to admit that, you know, on my client that I have the full Apex suite on, like I generally largely ignore that salinity probe.
Does it vary? Does it veer around, or is it just kind of drift off?
It does. And also, I mean, I know one of the things that gets interference from the other probes, so you're supposed to separate it, but I have it on a thing with all the other probes. So, I mean, I fully understand, but I mean, I've got the MISCO and I've got the VG refractometer. So it's like, I don't really have to pay attention to it too much, but at the same token, I should put a little bit of effort into it because I know you can stabilize it. And that VCA thing was something I was really looking at.
Well, I don't know. We'll see how these work out. I don't know how, I don't know if I would make it actionable in the controller. You know what I mean? The only action the controller does when salinity goes goofy is let me know that the salinity is going goofy.
Yeah, don't start changing a bunch of stuff because I'm not even sure if I believe you. Yeah.
And often when I've had actual problems with salinity that wasn't creeping slowly over time because I just stopped paying attention or whatever, when it's like over a week or so when something's goofy, the Apex has let me know about that, and that's good. usually when it goes bad for some reading, a false reading, it's pretty abrupt. So I know my tank hasn't gone from 35 to 40, in a
Well,
day.
that could sometimes, depending how your system's set up, something weird like your ATO went off for a little while.
I know that can't happen in my system, just the way my ATO works now, unless something awful is going on. In either case, I go take a look, which is really what it's supposed to do. They make this that you connect it to like a PMUP or some other pump that you put far away. But I got these little tiny pumps that I was using for localized. They're just a tiny water pump that I was using.
That's not a. Oh, what brand is that?
Oh, I don't know. It's off brand. It's just a tiny pump that I was using for localized stuff for coral spawning. Yeah. And so I'm just going to put it like that.
Oh, cool.
And drop it in up there, because we talked about before that tank, the salinity creeps, even though it's getting a constant water change.
Oh, because that one's isolated.
Yeah. So that's what I want that for. And I bought a couple of them. I'm going to put one in this so I have 2 salinity probes in the system now. One is in the overflow of the display tank and the other is in the sump. And I think I like it in the sump better, but because I had this laying around, I have 2 of these. I'm going to set it up in the overflow as well, and then see if I'm seeing any salinity difference in the 2 areas.
Have you ever had to replace your salinity probe? I mean, they're not like a pH probe, right? You don't have to really.
Yeah, when a few times when it's gone completely goofy, and then I've calibrated it and then it's gone goofy again. My thought, I just get rid of it. My figure is that the micro brittle stars in it have done something bad.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, it is like you shake it and it's like this much of your hand.
Really?
It gets so full of micro brittle stars. So
I get those a lot, and a lot of my clients think they don't generally cause any sort of problem. And this is quite anecdotal, but I did see this not too long ago. A client had red planaria in their tank. So I used flatworm exit, and it annihilated the micro brittle stars, and it kind of threw their tank off kilter. And I had a problem with it for several months because I say anecdotal, but it was so crazy because I dosed the stuff. Oh, here's maybe what you're thinking. It could have been the toxin in the red planaria and not necessarily the flatworm exit.
Yeah.
But it was weird because they flew out of the rocks and they were writhing, and I was like, what the hell? And
so I've seen that happen a few times when there's more planaria than you think there are.
Yeah.
And whenever I've seen that happen, I just do like massive water changes for the next
carbon water change, poly filter
water change, like over 3 days. I'll do like 50% water changes.
Yeah.
Because I don't want any weird issues going on.
Yeah.
I think water is the cheapest and easiest thing you can do.
Yeah.
I saw somebody online mention something about that they had problem in their tank. Oh, they had accidentally left a doser on and dosed, 1,200 mil of calcium or something, and they said, they're going to start with a 50% water change. And it's like, and I always go, man, start with an 80% water change.
Yeah. Get that crap out of there.
Again, it's that effective water change thing, but I guess a 50% water change. Yeah. An 80% water change is more effective than a 50% water change and a 30% water change.
But I guess you could say too, it would depend how much a person has on hand.
Absolutely.
Like it would be slightly sketchy if you did an 80% water change on water that you mixed like 10 minutes ago.
Absolutely true. And I guess the way I think about it is if there's something dangerous in your tank, it's like if you were in a garage that was filled with carbon monoxide from the car, would you rather 50% of that get removed or 80% of that get removed?
I'll call you next time it happens. You're like, Ben, put 50% of your head out of the garage.
Yeah, right.
Like, Rich, shouldn't I get all the way out of the garage? No, just 50%. You don't want to shock your system.
Right, you don't want to shock it.
You are trying to kill me.
You want to slowly get the poison that's suffocating you away. You don't want to get it abruptly off of you.
And you're
Um,
like, thank God I got rid of Ben.
Thank God. Is there anything else going on? There's nothing else going on. Nothing else we can talk about today. Dun dun dun. Anything interesting in maintenance world happened to you?
Let's see. Today, no, I did during so Texas had an ice storm a while back.
Yeah.
And one of my kind of favorite and kind of popular tanks got just absolutely annihilated. Luckily for me, like there was sketchy other things that went on with other clients, but everything made it through it. But this one tank just got annihilated. It's this 10-foot long by 1 foot tall by 1 foot wide tank in the back of a theater room.
That's a great.
And I'll post maybe I'll put the photo on here for reference, and then I'll also have Snowman show like what it used to look like. It's on the comeback trail. I've been nursing it. I just recently put 2 Tridacna squamosa clams that I got from Biota, and I normally stay away from these, but Biota had little Crocea clams, so I figured like give it a shot. You know, Crocea is like the one that I have the least amount of luck with.
Yeah.
Maximas I can sometimes do okay with, but Squamosa and Dorasa and Hippopas, those are easy peasy. And even, you know how Tridacna go, even just randomly out of the blue, a Tridacna is like, bye. And you're like,
look at life.
Yeah, what just happened? But yeah, so that one's on the comeback trail, cleaning it up. And it's kind of a slow, painful process, especially when a client is involved, because, you know, when it's just you could proceed at your own thing. And, you know, with a client, sometimes like, why didn't it look awesome again? It's like, oh, because it got completely blown up.
It will. My tank is just starting to show signs of, I should finish the sentence. I'll have to look at when it became unawesome last year. Or no, it was this year. It was in January. And now it's showing signs of awesome starting. You know what I mean? You can see some of the SPS that we know have, you know, axial tips that glow, that, you know, have a totally different color than the rest of the body. You can see those starting to pop up again and change color. I
just have to think it's your increased water change volume.
It just takes time to recover. So we're at 4 or 5 months from whatever the salinity problem was, and you know, high salinity for a long time, for a month or two, is bad. And so I think things are coming around again. So, you know,
but you said it got up to 36.2, right? Or 36.5?
I have to look. We were talking about a different tank.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to look at what it was. But
because that really didn't seem that ridiculous to me.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been other things as well. Remember, we thought it could have been not changing the carbon in the DI. Could have been chloramines. So, you know, it could have been a bunch of stuff. So, yeah, so I think it's coming back. But I'm just jumping on your point about it takes a long time for it you know, it recovers, but then it kind of sits in stasis for a while, and then things start booming again. So
I mean, I would say from my perspective, that's what makes maintenance so tricky, because again, it's like you're not just doing the stuff for yourself. You have to kind of, you know, ask people to be patient.
I think it's interesting with maintenance. I think rarely should you get an emergency in maintenance like you had that a tank has to recover from. And I think, you know, it's just the difference between, you know, if doing it for a living and not doing it for a living. I don't know. I guess there's bad maintenance people out there too who just do schlocky jobs.
Well, yeah, and that gets cheesy too, because, you know, if a client were like, why does my tank not look good? And it's like, you know, 6 months later, and it's like, yeah, you need to, do you know what you're doing? You need to, but I mean, even when you're good at it, you still, you know, stuff just takes a while to parse out, you know?
Yeah, especially if you're not going over there every week.
Yeah, hers I go to once a week, but it's still like, I'm not the guy that's into all these like solutions in a bottle and stuff. Sometimes, you know, and you've heard me kind of talk about a few things, because sometimes I have to try some tricks because I got to get results real fast. So people keep giving me checks. I can't dilly dally. I really need to get after it.
It's really interesting because the main thing about a lot of the magic in a bottle is it makes you feel like you're doing something.
Yeah.
And and for a client who doesn't know what's going on in the tank, I could see it being even more useful in that respect.
Yeah. Well, it's because I would say my job is absolutely based on results. So if I add magic bottle stuff in there, it doesn't do anything. The client doesn't give a crap. They'll still fire you if their tank doesn't look good.
Right. But they're more likely to feel like something has gotten better because you've said, I put this stuff in that's supposed to make it better.
I guess so. But if they're paying you $300 a visit to do something, that I don't know that they're like, they go based off of feel.
Oh, they totally do.
No, they don't.
It's straight. They do. It's totally placebo, man. It is totally placebo.
I think that works better on a hobbyist versus a client because a client just wants to see a result. What do you think, beefers? Put it
Let
in
us
the comments. Yeah. Who's right?
Who's Rich or Ben?
Ben, who actually
Epic battle.
Ben, who actually runs a maintenance company, or Richard, who's talking about
who actually ran a maintenance company for several years in the 80s.
50 years ago. Yeah. With dead coral skeletons.
No, live coral skeletons.
With Emmett Smith's wife and their baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that delicious beef.
Hey, Ben, guess who's sponsoring this episode?
Would it be PolypLab?
It is PolypLab. We are powered by PolypLab this week, and that's great. I was introduced to PolypLab Reefroids a long time ago, and I've been feeding it off and on, with all kinds of different foods because I have a NPS, SPS mixed tank. So I'm very food forward in that tank. So I like to feed that a lot while before I was even coral spawning. After coral spawning and trying to get corals ready to spawn, the idea of feeding them became really important because, when you're conditioning any broodstock, you want to make sure it's got a lot of food. And Reefroids is one of the foods that I use to help bolster broodstock of coral spawn. Also, for SPS corals, when they are first settled, they don't have any zooxanthellae. They rely completely on whatever they're catching to eat for their sustenance. So this is one of the foods I also feed to help newly settled corals make sure they're getting some nutrition. It's a really good size for them.
I've been using it for a while too on my maintenance accounts. The first thing I do when I'll show up, I'll put a fat pinch in the tank and then I'll get my stuff ready and then I'll maintain the tank right after that to pull out any excess. Yeah. Just to try to cover my bases, any sort of coral that needs some nutrition.
Yeah, I would power feed baby corals. They were in a tank essentially, and I would turn off the flow to that tank, and then I would power feed them with Reefroids and let it sit for half an hour, and then I turn the flow back on, and then that would go out and it would dilute, but it would go feed the rest of the system as well.
Flushed it out.
There's another product they have that I like. It's called Polyp Booster, and what I use this for is to get corals to open up before I feed. So this is like you season the water, like you chum in the water with PolypLab, and it makes the corals open up. I have pretty good success with this. Corals in my experience, seem to get bored of the same food over and over again. So, often some other product, a frozen product that I use, is really nice because it gets them to open up however it smells. This does a really good job of that as well. So, PolypLab, Polyp Booster, and Reefroids. Ben and Rich use them. We like them.
I also use their gelatinized super glue to mount frags. Got a huge container of that. Use that all the time.
Yeah, and you like the glue. All right, it comes in little pieces, right?
Yeah.
I like that. I like that because then you're using the entire piece of the entire tube.
I don't like big tubes, and so PolypLab has this big old container of little tubes. Yeah, because I like to do that. I like the little tubes, you know, do a few frags and then chunk it, because it gets problematic when you use big tubes of stuff and the lid gets all gunky. So yay on PolypLab.
Get hard inside. So thank you, PolypLab of Reef Beef. This episode powered by PolypLab.
Blub, 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 blub. Blub, 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 blub.
Hey, Reef Beefers, we have a guest today, Michelle Albright of BombChelle Creations. So I've known Michelle for a while from Facebook, but when we were at Aquashella giving our talk, I met her face to face, and I've always seen on Facebook, she has really cool art, like these big scolemia art pieces. We'll have Snowman put pictures of her art up occasionally throughout the interview. And she has also been a reef aquarist for a while as well. But anyways, so I saw her there and I was like, hey, welcome to the beef. What's going on, Michelle?
Not much. Thanks for having me. You really scared me for a second, by the way, when you came in my tent, because I didn't realize you were so tall and I watched you like duck under the doorway.
I was on stilts.
Oh yeah. And I was like, hi, how's it going? You're like, it's me, Ben. And I was like, oh, Ben.
You thought I was there to kidnap you or something?
Oh, well, I can't see people's faces in those tents because it's all blacklit. And so you just like this shadow of a giant guy.
I should have just said, hi, I'm with the kidnappers.
Yeah. And I was lurking around outside of the booth because I was exhausted and out of my mind. And I was like, where's Ben? And I'm like looking in the tent. So that probably didn't help make you
Actually, that's not true at all because I'm not tall. I was actually standing on top of Richard.
Ben is actually 2 feet tall.
2 feet tall.
Yeah.
5 foot with the afro.
That makes sense because I didn't even see Richard there. So that totally makes sense.
Yeah, I was like,
He was in the kiddies corner drawing with crayons.
Hanging out with the mermaids.
I was eating the The funniest thing to me in that whole show was that they transported them. Did you see how they got the mermaids from place to place?
Oh, didn't they do it?
Roll them on a chair, like an Office Max chair.
That's not what they did this time.
What did they do?
The hotel luggage carriers that are only like 3 feet wide. They had the mermaids sitting on them with like the tail like folded up and flopping around, and they around.
You know what that probably was us not thinking that through, and then they were like, I have to pee. We're like, oh crap. We forgot the wheelie chair.
It gave me so much entertainment every time I saw a mermaid wheeled around. So
that's why
thank you.
That's why I don't dress up like a mermaid, because in case I have to pee. That would be terrible. So Michelle, like how long have you been a reef aquarist?
A reef aquarist,
or an aquarist of any kind?
I mean, I started with a betta fish. You know how that works. You're just like, you start with that small fascination and then it grows, and it's like overnight you get these bigger tanks. You're like, where'd that come from? I don't know, I guess 15 years probably. I did freshwater for a while. Was not like, not super great at freshwater. I just kept guppies and platies and like a pictus catfish for a bit. And then I got a 90-gallon saltwater tank about 9-10 years ago.
That's kind of a jump.
Yeah, I literally went from a 10-gallon freshwater tank to a 90-gallon salt.
Did you win the lottery or something?
Yeah, what made that happen?
I found it used on Craigslist, and I was like, well, let's see. So I got a super good deal. I think I bought it for like $100, the glass stand, canopy, all of it. So I got the 90-gallon, and I had that for a bit. It crashed about 3 years ago. It crashed. I had a really nice established system. But it got really hot. I was in the hospital at the time because I don't know if I ever told you, or you maybe heard about some of my health issues that I had a while ago, which is why I got into this artwork stuff. But I was in the hospital in Alaska. Nobody has AC here, and the summers are just getting hotter and hotter all the time. Yeah. So my tank got 94 degrees while I was out.
Oh, that's not going to work out.
It roasted pretty much everything. And then all the stuff that was left, a year later, we had that huge earthquake. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That was a beast of an earthquake. Anyways, it toppled all my rock down on most of my surviving corals after the crash. And so after the earthquake, I replaced my glass because it's just too risky after that level of a quake that we had. I didn't trust the silicone. I didn't really know how old the tank was. I was like, let's just replace it. So I got a 125, and then my father-in-law, I was like, yo, earthquakes are a thing. Like, let's build a stand. And he was like, okay. And so we built a 200-pound steel frame inside it's like wrapped in wood, so you can't tell that it has a iron frame inside. But we had an earthquake right before I left to Orlando, and let me tell you something, the water didn't even move.
So wait, educate me a little bit, because I'm an idiot, and I didn't, when I think of earthquakes, that's true. When I think of earthquakes, I don't really think of Alaska, but is that as frequent as like Southern California?
Gosh, yeah, we are right on the, I think we share that fault line. I think it goes all the way down. Maybe it's on a separate fault line. But I mean, you think of Alaska, you think of mountains, right? Anywhere that there's big mountains, there's gonna be big.
Yeah, I guess.
Either way, it's on the Ring of Fire.
Ring of Fire.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we had a huge one in 1964 that was like a 9.2 or something, and it was really bad. And this one was super bad too. It put like big craters in our roads, like cracked them all the way down,
and it messed up your aquarium.
It almost knocked my aquarium off the stand. I didn't realize it at first because I was looking on it like face on, and then when I went on the side, it was sticking off like this far, and I remember going like, oh my gosh, I gotta drain this water now.
Man.
So besides the earthquakes, what is reefing like in Alaska?
It's pretty slim. We have one local fish store, but I just went there yesterday. I get this question a lot. So I told the guy who owns the fish store, I was like, I need to come in and do a video because everybody's interested in what you have here.
Yeah. I mean, what's the name of the store? How are they stocked? Because you've been to shows, so you see what's out. How does it compare? And where in Alaska are you?
Excuse me. So I live in Anchorage, Alaska. Okay. The local fish store is Alaska Coral and Fish. This guy, Tim, owns it. He's owned it forever. He is one of those people, he's not in it for the glamour. He's not in it to make money. He literally just loves it so much that he opened up this store. He lives right next to it. Like he lives on the same property as it.
You know, Michelle, I'm only in it for the money and the glamour. But I've been chasing that for 25 years. I'm still looking for it.
That's probably dumb of me to say, because I feel like everybody who gets into owning a local fish store kind of knows. I'm not going to make it huge, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
we try.
You can try.
Shoot for the stars.
So
man, that is crazy. I mean, in all of Alaska, are you saying there's only one fish store in all of Alaska?
Correct. There's only one, but we only need one because, just like Rich said, it's an amazing fish store. He has a 1,000-gallon display tank that he's been growing out for years, and freshwater, saltwater. I just went there yesterday, and he had a wolf eel stocked in there. Did you know that those are actually native to Alaska here? We've got some.
Yeah. Oh, that sort of wolf eel. I thought you were talking the one they call a green wolf eel that's actually like related to Pseudochromis. You're talking about the grumpy looking, melty face one.
Gnarly looking. Yeah, he had a wolf eel there.
A baby one or an adult?
A baby, a little baby. Okay. But we do have the Seward Sea Life Center. You should look. You should check it out. I don't know if have you heard of it?
Oh yeah. We hear about a lot of cephalopod stuff from them.
Oh, Rich, have you ever been to Alaska?
I have.
He read about it in a book once.
He saw pictures of it.
No, I haven't. When I was north, I was in Canada. I've never been to Alaska. It is fully on the list.
Yeah, Canada is pretty similar. I feel like it's like
You
Montana.
Canadians are gonna get mad now.
But it's not America.
It's not America. That's for
And
sure.
it's
don't-
certainly not Texas.
We don't drink our milk out of bags. Okay.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
What are you gonna do?
Bad
But
deal.
I was just thinking that's kind of funny because if you're the only store in Alaska, like you don't have to be that good.
Yeah, but he is. I think that's what's pretty incredible, and I think there would be a lot more
You could be
competition.
terrible.
Yeah, I just need to do like a video tour to show people what it is. He even has this like, oh my gosh, it's probably 2,000 gallon, like, you know, those big Rubbermaid totes. He's got an alligator gar in there, a huge catfish, and like it looks like a giant pacu. I never asked him what it was. He's got that piranha body and the, you know, sharp little teeth.
Yeah.
But he's wanting to start up like a nonprofit foundation for kids with learning disabilities to like incorporate fish with that, which would be really cool for the Alaska community because we don't really have a whole lot of that up here.
Well, that's cool then. Because down
Yeah.
here you would go, oh, that's a money making idea. But
Yeah.
if there's not that in Alaska and it would actually be helpful, all my cynicism drains away, and I should have just said nothing. Is actually how that should have gone. How many other reefers are there around you? I mean, is there a largest community? Is it tiny? Is it?
It's fairly spread out. They actually don't have a whole lot of local connections here. I know a few people. I've tried to start several Facebook pages, but I think living in Alaska comes with its quirks, and that includes being antisocial.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of we don't even know each other exists, I guess.
I was just thinking, like, to get to a club meeting, you either like ride a caribou or you like get on a seaplane or
Take a
something.
moose. Some sled dogs.
Yeah, I'll be right there.
On Balto.
Yeah. We've just lost all our Alaskan viewers now just for me making fun of Alaska.
Yeah.
Could be. It could
Well, I am totally used to it. I know it's super weird. People find out I'm from Alaska and they're like, why do you live there? That's really strange. Have you considered moving?
When did you start doing art? Have you always done art?
I only started doing the UV fluorescent art about 3 years ago. Like I kind of mentioned, within that time, I was 27 and I had a stroke. And yeah, so I'm actually a nurse also. I'm a registered nurse. And with that happening, I was like paralyzed on my left side for a while. And so even after I had a blood clot in my brain, even after that resolved, I was left with left-sided deficits pretty tremendously. So I couldn't work. I had to do aggressive physical therapy and learn how to walk again. And I had to do a lot. Yeah, I had to learn how to do most of my like comprehension, and the way I put things together was really skewed. So I had to do aggressive speech and occupational therapy. So painting was just a tremendous way for me to just do like left brain, right brain, and retraining myself to like focus on something and put it all together.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And so I sat down for a while and I painted a mandarin goby in UV fluorescent paint. And Sean Hale, he ended up seeing it on Facebook, and that's how I got involved with Aquashella, was he invited me to that. And I mean, I don't know, man, like it all worked out. So here I am.
Wow.
That's a silver lining.
Yeah.
I know, it's kind of weird. It's one of those things where like, if I could have a redo button and skip that part, I probably would do it all over again, because it put me where I am today, and I'm just like really happy. So
that's great, because the recovery seems pretty stellar at this point.
yeah, look at this, I can move.
Both sides,
You're like,
everything.
pat your head and rub your belly.
I don't think I could do that even before.
Looks like you still have some more work to do.
Oh, look, I can do it.
That's probably better than me, and I have had no strokes. So
you set up the big crazy things at Aquashella. Like, if people haven't been to Aquashella, there's there's always a walkthrough that's got huge coral art in black lights, and it looks like you're in a big giant blue tank. And it's pretty cool. So you set all that up at Aquashella, and you also have a booth there. And is the art, because I know art's a weird business. Is it doing well? Is it besides the Aquashella stuff, or do you, like, I do glass work and I don't work nearly enough to sell any of it because I'm process, not product, but not everyone is like that. So is the art still a thing for you more, or is it for both, or how do you see it?
They're definitely a combination of the both of them. Aquashella hired me as like their art director, so I hire teams of people to put that stuff together. I like draw it on a map, and I'm like, this is what I want. Make that happen for me. So there's just a lot of finger pointing, I guess, of that stuff. And then I have my booth, and UV art, I don't know, I'm sure you guys have noticed, has become more and more popular. There's more and more artists coming out who are doing those. And so I don't want to call it competitive, because I don't ever want to be like, consider myself competitive with other artists, because I do feel like even if there was another artist out there who does UV art, most people collect multiples from different people, which is really cool to see. I think that the fact that it's emerging, I think, is really awesome. I even have a YouTube channel to show people how to do it if they want to try and do it themselves. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool. I never am short of business, that's for sure. So the more people that come on board, I think the better, because there couldn't be enough of us to fill that demand.
We'll link your website and your YouTube thing in the show notes so people can find that. But cool, I mean, it's cool anyways, because a lot of the art that I've seen from you, I mean, especially people with open top tanks, and you do have a lot of spillage of light. So it's kind of like you just put your art pieces around it and they'll glow just off of that.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You got the wall space behind it. You might as well utilize that actinic property for the light and put something fancy above it. I don't know. Yeah.
So what is your tank currently doing? Your aquarium currently doing?
You want to see it? I can walk upstairs.
Sure.
Will it do that? It won't drop. This will be a Reef Beef first, a traveling camera expedition.
Not everyone has technology impossible usability like you do.
Yeah, like if I even touch something on my setup, it just God will strike me dead.
Well, he's gonna do that to all of us now.
Yeah.
Mostly Ben, though.
Mostly me. He might bring me back to life and just stomp me out again.
I think that might be what's happening now. What I don't understand is, why am I being punished for you?
Yeah.
I mean, that's it.
Oh, I see how the stand is like overbuilt, but I like that.
Yeah, that lip around the stand is really useful. I love that kind of thing.
I like it for holding stuff a lot, but it's mostly built like this for the earthquake properties. And then inside, all of this right here, this is steel.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this, and it's on a rubber mat. I need to paint this. Don't look at this. But it's on a rubber mat for shock absorbance too.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Looks good.
Yeah.
Thanks. It's it's coming along. When I left to Orlando, my husband overfed all my fish. I don't even know how they're like literally suspended in water. They're so fat.
Now they're mad because you're putting them back on a diet.
Yeah. Like you don't get fed for days.
Yeah.
How long?
So your lighting, it looked like aqua illumination lights, hydras or something?
Yeah. Yeah, I have the 64s on here.
Cool.
What
Three of them.
What is your favorite reef hack?
What
a terrible.
It sounds so stupid, but like when I discovered the flipper magnet, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I like that magnet.
I used to scrape the glass, with like a razor blade, and so that was pretty life-changing. I guess my top off is probably the best.
Do you think
how does your top off what is your top off? And then we'll get to Ben's question.
I have the little duetto and I love it.
Nice.
Yeah. So I just have a little aquarium over here. This is nothing fancy right now because we're gonna end up moving. So I'm gonna end up having like an actual top off and controller department over there. But I feel like that's maybe one of my faves.
Yeah, it's working for you. I like when off the shelf stuff really works.
So Michelle, are you largely in charge of that whole walk-in front part of Aquashella?
Yeah, I
Cool.
come up with a floor plan, and the freshwater side we added in Chicago before the COVID closure, and so we did it in 2019. And yeah, 2019. And so I built most of that install in 6 days, and so we brought all that over to Orlando. And then when I walked in the room, I was like, "Ooh, this is a lot bigger than I thought it was." So then we had to hustle to build a bunch more stuff in there. And yeah, every time we host an Aquashella, I'm thinking of new things to add to it and coming up with different design plans. And
I saw a lot of it's made out of like grape foam and then you spray paint on top of it. That's pretty cool.
yeah, and you know what's so funny about that is we had saltwatercream.com, the whole crew popped in there, and they were like, I was using that the foam stuff, the window sealer, and they're like, I would put it on boxes, let it dry, and then paint it black. And they were like, you know that they make that literally for ponds and it already comes in black. I was just like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Do you know how much time I've wasted?
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely do. They do that in the waterfall to keep the water going down the rocks.
Yeah.
Does
So my
a
mind
lot of the
explodes.
stuff get ruined in between shows, or a lot of it stays pretty okay?
It's all right, and we patch it up.
Patch up.
The warehouse is pretty small, so we like pack it on in there and close the door really fast before it all pops out.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's cool to make an entire room. You know, it's like a giant canvas, and there's just so much potential that you can do in there. And so the inspiration for the freshwater side was Avatar, which I think everybody kind of got those vibes. And then the saltwater side, we're actually getting ready to revamp because I feel like everybody's kind of seen most of that before. So now we want to make it something new.
On a creative level, that's awesome though. If you get to keep like kind of, re-upping it every year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty fun. The whole team is really great. George, he has like a very creative mind, which I'm sure probably plays a huge part in why he's so successful on YouTube. But he'll just like, throw these crazy ideas out there. Like, I want a 20-foot seahorse that blows fire and shoots laser out of his eyeballs.
Because that's what they really are. But yeah. It'd be cool if they could shoot down drones.
Yeah.
Not Richard's drone though. Leave Richard's drone alone.
Yeah. Leave my stuff alone.
Yeah, so it's fun. It's challenging, and I do all this stuff too. I didn't really sleep at all before Aquashella, trying to get ready for my booth. But see, here's my wall. There's the Scullies that you like. I've got one left there.
Yeah, those are super
It's
cool.
nothing but artwork everywhere.
It's great.
A little beta tank over there.
Wait, you still have like the whole beta system?
No, I recently, when I built my art studio, I just went and got a little tiny tank and got a beta fish.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was good to have. So if people want to see your artwork or see your YouTube channel, where do they go? And we'll make sure they put it down below the episode, but it's always good to have the person say it.
Every place, like my whole thing is just BombChelle Creations. If you type that in on any platform, that's where I'm at. It's YouTube, BombChelle Creations, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook.
That's great.
Yeah, so it's all BombChelle Creations. But it's CHELA. It's like a little, my sister thought of my name, and so it's a little play on my name.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then your YouTube is the same thing?
BombChelle Creations. Yep.
That makes it easier.
Website all of it.
Yeah. So there's no clubs in Alaska?
No, we don't have any clubs. I'm glad you said reef clubs, because in my head I was thinking of like
Yeah.
clubs. Yeah.
Like there's a
We
lot of
don't really have
nightlife.
any of those.
Well, you could do like a Zoom club thing, because I'm thinking Alaska's so spread out. It seems like it'd be something like, so that's interesting though. That's kind of different than what do we call the lower 48.
Yeah,
Which
I mean, Alaska, it's so hard to just be like, Alaska is, if you put it over the US map, is like several states. So it's, there is people up in Nome who are in the hobby. I know there's some hobbyists up there, but like compared to where I am, Nome is in like Montana. So, like if I was in Texas, they'd be in Montana, and then there's some in Fairbanks, and that's a 6-hour drive from where I live. There's some hobbyists there.
So really just too few and far between to really do something like that.
Yeah,
That makes
it's
sense.
hard to, I think, be local because we're so spread out. I know there's a lot of hobbyists here in Anchorage, though. Otherwise, my local fish store wouldn't be as
Wouldn't exist.
successful as they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we wish you continued success, and we thank you for
Thanks.
coming on the show. It's cool.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I was super nervous, so.
Thanks, Michelle. We'll hope to see you. I hope to see you at the next Aquashella, where I will not be exhausted, and I'll actually come into your booth and say hello.
Yeah, I'll be equally as exhausted. So you'll have to just stop by regardless, because we'll both be exhausted.
All right, Michelle. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thank
Thank
you.
you guys. You too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, I wanted we should thank the Beefers. Beefers, thank you so much for all your support, for everyone who's bought us a beer. Fantastic. Thank you for all the members. Thank you. We've got something special coming up. Merch. We've got different merch that you can go grab from us at our website, reefbeefpodcast.com. And all the support is supporting and helps us be supportful. So thank you very
feel
much.
supported.
Yeah, and we'd like to thank PolypLab for being the sponsor of this episode.
Thank you,
And,
PolypLab.
Yeah, and yeah, that's it. Until next time, beef on, Reef Beef. That's our new slogan. Beef on.
You're the wind beneath our wings.
You're the beef beneath our wings.
There you go.
You're the reef beneath our beef.
Oh, I don't. Do I have reef below my beef? I don't know.
I don't
Let me
even
check.
know.
Let me check. There's reef.
Ian, you didn't know you were going to be giving us such a problematic name.
Yes.
You're the beef beneath our reef.
Yeah.
Is that better?
That's okay. Yeah.
All right. Let us know in the comments what you think of our slogans, or if you can think of a better slogan than the ones we just came up with.
Or just cuss us out in the comment section and write giraffe or something. I don't know.
And until then, until we see you next time, beef on.
Beef on.
Okay.
My kids sing that song now.
Do they?
Yeah.
You know they're
Oh.
my kids.
It gives me anxiety.
Well, freaking your hair gives you anxiety.
Shut up. Did we ever do that episode where we did ASMR? Did he ever
he's put those out?
Yeah. Do people like that, or do some people it agitates them?
I don't know.
We should put it in the comments.
We should make notes about ASMR feedback.
Yeah. Where hath Richard gone? Wait, we're not perfect?
I'm pretty perfect.
You're close to it. You're like 99% too perfect.
Yes, it's particularly effectively perfect.
I don't know if I can say if I'm in the 70s. I don't know.
In the 70s.
70s percentile.